Alright, oh, hey, I'm Stump, and I'm here with Crash 2 any% no game over reviews. So, time for this starts when I gain control in the warp room, so I'll count down to that point. Ready? Alright. So I'll skip this, and 3, 2, 1, start time. And here we go. So this is Crash 2 any% no game over reviews, and for that I will be gathering the crystal from each of the 25 levels and defeating a boss after each 5. And the no game over reviews part is that I am not going to be taking advantage of the fact that if you were to get to a collectible item in a level and then game over, it would still be pending if you respawn in the warp room, go into another level, and finish it. And that would mean you don't have to do all of each level. So no game over reviews means I have to leave each level through its exit. And the movement that I'm doing is the neutral slide spin. Sliding is movement that was added to this that was not in Crash 1. And there is a cooldown on it that would mean that continuous sliding would be slower than running. But if I let go of the directional buttons and spin at the end of the slide, then my sliding speed continues and the cooldown runs, so I can continuously slide and spin. So that is the fastest way to move along ground here. You may also have noticed that I did not get the mask box that was at the beginning of this level. That is because even though getting the third mask would get you invincibility, you can't neutral slide spin in invincible form and have that be faster. So we avoid invincibility except in one specific spot. And another thing that I should note is that I am playing on the PAL version, and that is because there are some exclusive tricks to it that result from Crash moving a little bit faster and jumping a little bit higher. But a particularly notable one of those tricks is in 2 of the levels in the last warp room. We'll cover that when we get to those. And in a few places here, I'm doing a slide jump and immediately spinning after getting after the jump leaves the ground. And that is the glitch high jump, because the spin preserves the initial upward momentum a little bit longer than it otherwise should. There we go. And that little timer there is for the other gem in this level. Every level has one gem that you get for breaking all of the boxes in it, and many of them have a second one that you get for doing something else. And in this case, it is finishing the level before that timer runs out. But that would only waste time in the warp room. So, while we will be seeing that gem, we will not be collecting it. Yeah, if I had gotten it, there would be, Crash would do another one of those animations of tossing the item up in the air and watching it float into the right slot above the level. That's what makes it slower. So this is the pits. And these birds, if I slightly overshoot them when I jump over them and then expand my hitbox backwards a little bit by spinning, I can get knocked forward. I slightly was too far there, but hopefully you can see, like there, that's a bird boost. There are a few more here where hopefully you'll be able to, I'll be able to get them. That's a bird boost. That was not, because I completely cleared the bird. And I had to do the left path there because that's where the crystal is. And the glitch high jump will allow you to exit the pits without having to wait for all the enemies to spawn and without you having to kill them. A glitch high jump will get you out of all of the pits in both this level and Turtle Woods in PAL, but only in some of them on NTSC. And here we have a boulder level. At this time, a little bit snowier. And there's also those electric gates to avoid that we didn't have in Crash 1. And you saw the thud of the previous boulder hitting the end when we were well into this one. And then those nitros, the boulder rolls over them and explodes them if they are on screen. So if this were 100%, I would have had to wait and keep those nitros on screen until the boulder blew them up. Whoa. Yeah, those mines don't actually hurt you, but they delay you, which can cause the boulder to catch up to you. And that would not be good. And then you also got these boxes that you need to really... well, it's very tight to get those casually. But since that's 5 crystals, we can go up to the next floor of the warp room and defeat the boss that lies in between. And this will be a rematch with Ripperoo. This time Ripperoo will bounce around laying TNT squares, which will explode, and then cause him to hop around laying nitro squares. Now you can, the TNT squares don't hurt you unless they actually blow up with you next to them, but the nitro squares will explode if you touch them. So you can mess around a bit on the TNT phases, like bouncing off of them and all. Coming into contact with him doesn't hurt you. Also, he has exactly the same patterns every single time. And I slide against him to damage him on the first possible frame. I like to let Crash stand here and just do a little bit of idle animation to rest for the next warp room. So that is 1/5 of any percent done. And here we have the next snow level. Some new things that are added to it are well, and the side-scrolling section is where they'll come up. I clipped through the front edge of that. Sometimes that can happen. Yeah, that is not something I've had happen in a run before. Now, those porcupines, as you get close to them, they extend their spikes. And when their spikes are fully extended, coming into contact with them will hurt you. But if you're neutral slide spinning toward them, you reach them in your continuous attacking from the cycle of sliding and spinning before the spikes fully extend, and that allows you to plow right through. Also, the boulders are back. Yeah, sliding and crawling are the same button, so if you don't let the button go for long enough, then you can accidentally crawl like that. So this is Air Crash. And in this one, the platforms start moving. And there are also nitros in the water to avoid. And those platforms with cycle. Although that first one I was able to glitch high jump over. And that frame there was of the entrance to the death route. I would need to have gotten there without dying in order for that to be there. Now, normally death routes only come into play for those extra gems and would not show up in any percent, but there is one that we will be taking in the fourth warp room because it bypasses part of the main level in a way that is faster than that part of the main level. But here, yeah, we have a bear level. We ride on Polar the bear. Sort of like the hog level. Polar will only move forward, although this time you can do a little bit of boosting. Gotta make sure that crystal is grabbed. And this set of 3 boxes with the quick, well-timed reversal you have to do to get all of them can be trouble in 100%. But in this category, we don't have to worry about that. And with that, we have another boulder level. Crash Crush. And the most notable thing that gets added here is those electric gates that you need to slide under. Now, in this level, the way the gates are positioned causes the spinning part of a neutral slide spin to still count as making it under there. But this will not be true when we see them again in the level Unbearable in the next warp room. And we got more nitros that we would have to make sure remained on screen if this were 100%. And then this one has so many boost pads. I can get far enough ahead of that boulder that I can't even see it anymore. But that's because casually I would need to body slam that metal reinforced box near the end in order to get the box gem, and that takes a while. Yeah, but you would have to do that in 100% anyway, but when you're casually playing, you aren't neutral slide spinning, so you're barely ahead of the boulder by the time you finish body slamming. So this is the Eel Deal. This is the first sewer level. These are mainly about the eel cycles. The green gem is down the right path. And down the left here is the crystal. And down the right is the rest of the level. I bounced off the nitro there because that would not result in an animation that would like getting shocked by the water would be. I can keep right on going. However, since I did use up all my masks for that, I need to ensure that well, those were down. If they were up, I would have waited for them to go down. But that's another 5 crystals, so we have another boss. This is the Komodo Brothers coming up. And this fight has 3 phases. And in each one, Komodo will send Komodo Joe spinning around the room. Eventually, Komodo Joe will stop, and then you spin him into Komodo Mo. And then you avoid the knives that are always thrown around 3/4 of the room counterclockwise from the direction where the hit was. And then I get that bounce to be long enough that after the next bounce, he'll be ready to stop spinning. Hopefully I'll be able to do something like that for this 3rd phase here, where there is the occasional knife thrown at you. But that gives us the next 5 levels. And plant food is another one of the river levels. And this has another timer gem, which actually is the yellow gem. Now I have to make sure I don't hit those because I didn't bring a mask out of the Komodo fight. Otherwise I could plow straight through them. Because there are plenty of masks in the remaining part of the level. There's this one right after. And then we have another one here. And if I time it right, no, I didn't. I could keep that. But having one mask is still enough to get past those without having to go forward and pre-kill them. And the timer gem is this yellow gem, which again we will not get. Then the next level is Sewer Relator. As you might expect, it is a sewer level.
Level name is great.
And this introduces these. Yeah, that blowtorch flame can be extends for quite a bit around them. So unless I want to use a mask to get past, I am going to have to wait. And then we got these fast-moving fans. I take the hit to go through that one, but if I position myself right, well, I still took a hit there, but I was, you can be positioned such that you fit through the blade that the enemy snipes for you. And then these two masks I will use to get past these two at the end of the level here. Oh. And that's that level. And then there's Bear Down. It's a bear level. Thankfully, it's the last full bear level we have. There is, you could say, half a bear level left. But for now, I gotta get through this and avoid death. Right, Totally Bear is in the secret warp room and is only part of 100%. Alright, now we're through that. And now we have Road to Ruin, which is a type of level we haven't seen before. And this is a ruin level which has a lot of platforming on, especially involving platforms that drop. Oh, there goes that mask. But we shouldn't need it. And a glitch high jump is enough to get you over those flames if they are on. And then there's one more level in this warp room, which sort of is something in between a boulder level and a bear level. This time the bears are after us, and a lot larger. Also, the electric gates are a little bit lower, so I have to be on the slide part of the neutral slide spin to make it under them. The spin part is not good enough. That's sort of important, because without that, completing this level doesn't count. But now the pits get larger. And one more electric gate. And then we have one more bear chase. This time with two sizes of bear. And with this, it's actually okay to hit the edges of those electric barriers because you knock them down. But now we have another boss fight to do. This is Tiny the Tiger. And this is probably the main place where RNG can impact the run. There we have Tiny chasing me across these platforms. Occasionally some of them will drop. And I want Tiny to be on them when they do. And that's the first phase. Now, the number of platforms that drop will go down to 2. There we go. And the number of platforms that remain up after Tiny falls also goes down to 2. I'm staying here so that there we go. That was so that if the platform that dropped were one of the back corner platforms, I would still be able to get Tiny to hop over them, because you can't really effectively do that if one of the corner ones has already dropped. And sometimes the RNG can be very mean to you with respect to that last phase. So here we are in the 4th warp room, and I'm going to do this out of order. The reason is that level 16, Hanging Out, is the one place where we actually do want to get third mask form in this run. But there is only one mask box in it, so we need to bring the first 2 masks in. And I can get them in this level. And there are a lot of new things in this level. There's those flowers spitting exploding fruit. What have I got? Yep, there's those electric barriers again. And then these intermittent ones. And then those explosions, I did this towards the beginning of the level, but you can protect yourself from getting hit by them as long as you're spinning. So those are the 2 masks. I have to bring them out. And now there are bees. Each beehive has a zone extending up to a full width pit, and you can glitch high jump over that. Whoa! And while you're between the beehive and the full width pit in question, you will be chased by bees. Luckily, with neutral side spinning, we handily outrun the bees. But otherwise, I would have to either spin the bees away when they got close, or I would have to spin on that darker colored ground, and that would cause me to dig under them where I cannot be hit by the bees. But that's slow if that happens. And I can't neutral slide spin underground, so we don't do that. But the slide off of the spin off of a slide doesn't count towards digging under there, so we don't have to worry about the dark colored ground. So there's 2 masks. So let's do this level. So the main thing I have to do here is keep these 2 masks until the mask box. I'm being a little extra careful to make sure that you are able to see what's going to happen here. So you may notice that I'm not moving particularly fast along here. When you have a 3rd mask, you do. And that is why I am getting it. Specifically on this hanging grid. Also, I don't have to worry about the cycles of those moving things. But I'm not neutral slide spinning because that would slow me down in 3rd mask form. With a little zigzagging, I can make that jump. So now I'll do Ruination. This is a ruin level. One of the things about it is that it has a lot of box formations. What did I land on? It has a lot of box formations that you saw in Road to Ruin, but with nitros mixed in. And then I'm going to die here as a cycle reset. So I can get right through there. And up to here. And then those logs are actually spinnable. And then Cold Hard Crash. This is one of the longest levels, but will be this is the one where we'll be taking the death route, because the death route is faster than the part of the main level that it bypasses. And we get to that from the first side-scrolling section here. And there's a mask box there, so I'll just not care about that TNT. And there's the death route. It's all ice and has a lot of nitros mixed in. And then we'll just hit those so that we don't have to worry about that last one. Jump over the gem to not waste time in the workroom. Yeah, if that penguin goes off to the side, it can blow those TNTs up. Now, you may have noticed that there are boxes in the Deathtrap, and there are also a lot of boxes in the part of the main level that it bypasses. And that means casual box gem of that level is quite involved. 100% does a box duplication glitch, though. And finally, for this warp room, we have behaving. Similar to digging it, but the beehives are larger, and they spawn more bees, and the bees move faster. Still not a problem with neutral side spinning, though, but you can hear a lot more buzzing. We didn't need that. But because of the speed of the bees, that's the main reason why that so much of the dark burrowable ground is provided. I don't have a mask, so I do need to burrow under here and hope that I hit one of the bees into the nitro switch, which I did. But that is the fourth warp room. And the fourth boss is Engine. And this fight has 3 phases. And instead of spinning or sliding, I have throwing a fruit. Four, 5. Alright, I have both of them 2 hits away. So on this attack, I should be able to finish off both of them. They each took 10 fruit. And each of the shoulders will take 5, but they are harder to hit. Alright, that's 1 and 3. Alright. Oh, I missed the right one by 1, and it just got 2 more hit points. I could have squeezed a third one in there if I was a little faster in that, but now the missile is going to come out. But we reach phase 3, so no double shoulders. But what happens, happens. And then 5 hits kill the third phase, and we reach the last warp room. And we have 2 new types of levels in this, and 1 twist on an existing type of level. This is Piston It Away. And the notable feature here is those pistons and the cycles that they are on. And you can 3D jump around a lot of them. then those need to be jumped on if the arms are down, and slid or spun if the arms are up. And that's a death route that, since there are there's an exit in that death route, and there are boxes in that death route, and there are boxes in the main part of the level after this. This is a somewhat tricky box gem to get in 100%. And then you got those lab assistants with shields, and there are wonderful screams that they make when you knock them into the pit. And then another new type of level. This is Rocket. I will be using a jetpack. And this level is where that one of the main PAL-specific skips appears. Occasionally there will be a cyborg lab assistant floating in one of the chambers like this, with a field of plasma at the exit to the room. And you normally have to hit him multiple times to make him hit the plasma and die. But in the PAL version, and only in PAL, if you deliver the first hit and keep pushing forward, you go through him. And the plasma field turns out not to actually be there. Because you're never supposed to actually get there. And then Night Fight is one of the one that is not a new type of level, but instead a twist on an existing type. Sort of like Lights Out. This level happens in the dark. But instead of masks lighting the way, these fireflies light the way. And each one is timed so that it lasts just until the next one with continuous casual movement. And because of that, the amount of overlap that you see between having the previous one and the next one is a nice way to visualize how much time neutral slide spinning saves. Pack Attack is another jetpack level, so you'll be seeing the PAL-specific skips again. And those sets of 4 mines despawn when you move past them. There's the skip. Now, in many places where there isn't, where you're not doing standard movement, third mask form isn't defined. So if I had actually broken that box, you would have seen a mask box break while I had 2 masks and do absolutely nothing. Alright. that should be good. All right. At their end in the previous level, I hit the nitro switch, but unloaded it before it actually exploded the nitros, so the box count stayed at only the couple that I actually spun past. And our final level. This is Spaced Out. And this one is this one can be tricky. Oh, missed the jump. Those floating platforms, the sides of them actually will hurt you. Alright, I think that's where we were before. So you can see that glass enclosed section ahead. But we don't have to deal with the cycles there behind. Well, I didn't go quite far enough to the right, but if I had, which hopefully you will see this time, I can bounce and get on top of the glass. Yep, a little bit too close to that, so I ended up under the right part and had to crawl out. Now, even though those are intended so that sliding is the only safe way to kill them, because of their dangerous neckline, sliding down from them from above also works. So that's 25 crystals, and that means we are about to fight Cortex. However, this is probably one of the less climactic Cortex fights in the Crash series. This is a jetpack level. I will chase Cortex and hit him 3 times, and the third hit will be time. 1, 2, and ready on time. Time.
Non! Tu auras de mes nouvelles, Crash Bandicoot.
So, that is Crash 2 100% no game over reviews.
Et le super Cortex Vortex, il est où? Moi je vais te le dire, il est toujours
Shoutouts to
là-haut.
the Crash community, they're wonderful people. And yeah, my name's Stump, and yeah, it's good to do this. Thanks to NASA for having me do these runs, and good luck to the next few runners. Well, all of the rest of the runners.